Welcome to Bowtie Sometimes Cool. Myself, Ashley, and James. Hey, James. Just,
Hello.
just, just sort of like I might even screenshot this, but just you got a nice James Bond T-shirt on there by the looks of
Oh,
it.
yeah, I did.
What do
Yeah,
we, what do we got?
got my gun barrel
Yeah.
shirt. There we go.
Hey, liking it,
Yeah.
liking it. When the gun barrel was good before Daniel Craig came along, but yeah, to be discussed on another podcast, perhaps. We're also
Controversial.
joined by the lovely and very good with the calculator chap. What's his name? Edward Watkinson. Edward, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Ash, and happy 2025 to you. It's our first recording of the year.
It is, yeah,
Oh yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Happy New Year,
We
chaps.
we've actually just been chatting for 5 minutes before we started this recording and didn't say Happy New Year to each other. So yeah, Happy New Year. Well done. Yeah.
Yes.
Now this evening, as someone has been advertising on our social media, we are going to be talking about the Bond villains. A countdown 25 to 1. Um, and Ed's done the maths on this. It has been double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked, and apparently this is official. So this was we all submitted to Edward. I say all, me and James. Our list, our countdown, and then through some magical maths, Ed's worked out the averages. And on the instance, if anyone's tied, what was the rule, Ed? What was it? If one time,
If the score's tied, then the one that's got the higher mark of the 3 marks goes above.
okay, yeah. So in
Yeah.
the instances where the average has been a tie, yeah, we've gone with that. So that's cool. So shall I do it in pop top of the pops
Yeah.
fashion? Should we get some music in?
Can you
I'll,
sound
I'll,
like
I'll,
fluff?
I'll find some music from somewhere, although whether I'll get it through copyright, I don't know, but I'll get it through. In at 25, we've got Blofeld, the Christopher Waltz version. Any ideas? I mean, yeah, that's probably a bit right because Blofeld. I mean, he's been played, he's been done lots of times and very well, and it's hard to beat, really.
Yeah, and it feels horrible because I love Christoph Waltz in anything. I just think he's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
Christoph,
Um,
yeah, whatever, yeah, yeah.
and when he got the part, I was really, there was all that secrecy. Is he Blofeld? Is he? Of course he was. He was always going to be. And I was really excited, thinking this is going to be great. And then it just wasn't. And I had to put a lot of that down to the script suspect and that ludicrous. Why nobody in Eon, wherever anyone in the cast crew, even whoever was running coffees in for them in the morning said, "Do you know what? Maybe don't make them brothers because it's so cliche. Um, you're actually parodying Austin Powers at this point. So please stop and let him just be a bad guy." And there was so much wrong with that idea, and it just affected everything about it. So, sorry, caveat everything by saying I love you all, guys. I love all Bond villains, but sorry, Christoph.
So you're spot on. Now in at 24, Whitaker. Ed, thoughts?
He was is a really not half bad Bond film. I think I've got a funny relationship with Living Daylights. I sort of my it depends which day of the week it is. My view on it changes, and at the moment, I think it's a really good Bond film, but with a really the weak link is the villain, and Whitaker is a forgettable, not much of a threat, low bar villain. That, to be honest, after watching it in the cinema after a couple of years before it came out on VHS, I couldn't even remember who the villain was. I just remember the set pieces from the film, so he's just forgettable.
Okay, okay. In at 23, Dominic Green. This is the first time I'm going to disagree. I don't know where I remember where I put Green, but I put him. I'm definitely higher than 23. I didn't think he was too bad. The portrayal reminded me of the little bit of this smarmy Largo from Never Say Never Again. But I don't know, he just did. But I thought he was quite a good villain in the sense that he was. I thought he was ruthless. He was just also a bit weak. There was other people. He didn't turn out to be very much of a threat. That was all.
Yeah,
He had
I mean, go. Sorry, go on, go on.
Well, no, I was going to say when you think about some of the things, where it's like basically he's obviously got some guy killed off and he's there in the harbor in the water and stuff. It's like like I say, I feel like he's quite ruthless, but yeah, he doesn't necessarily feel like much of a threat. And like the way that Bond treats him at the end, I suppose, in terms of in the desert and just throwing him around, like there's no fight, is there, in him, and stuff like that. So, but then again, is that what we expect from a Bond villain? Most of the Bond villains can't beat Bond. That's why they have to have henchmen. But we'll come on to that later. Um,
It's an interesting one because I think yeah, again he was probably badly served by the script, and I don't know if we've sent out our quantum episode yet, but we did discuss this. I'm sure, and they were really heavily impacted by the writer's strike. The script wasn't finished, and between Daniel Craig and the director, they were trying to write. There was things they couldn't shoot because they didn't have time because they were committed to the date, and it just the whole thing just didn't come together. Um, and I think they probably wanted him to have a fight at the end, and it didn't happen. In some ways, artistically, you can say having him killed off screen is interesting, but again, it's not an art film. It shouldn't be an art film. It's a Bond flick. You want to see the bad guy get his comeuppance, and if you look at the first two Daniel Craig films, Le Chiffre and Green are both essentially middlemen. They're not the big bad. There's somebody above them, but you have Le Chiffre who is incredibly effective, and it just doesn't quite work. And again, nothing against the actor at all, who I've seen in other things, and I enjoy greatly. It's just I think the writing and the chaotic production let down what could have been an interesting character.
in at 22, Safin. Well, if I've said that right. I don't know everyone. Do you know what? I don't even know if I've said it right because it's a Daniel Craig film. So I probably would have watched it out with one eye whilst I was doing something far more interesting with the other. I was just going through the motions of No Time to Die. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really. I quite like him, especially after Bohemian Rhapsody and what have you. The actor I love, but in terms of the role, I don't know what purpose he served, really, to be honest. And he wasn't in that much, and he got killed off at the end fairly easily. End of. Next. No, I'm just joking. Ed, I feel like Ed wants to say something. He's got
Yeah, I mean he's one of the only villains of the Craig era I like. I think he's like a proper Bond. He's like a proper Bond villain from back in the days. He's got a base. He's got a mad plan that doesn't really make much sense. He's got a facial disfigurement like villains back in the day used to have. A lot of my a lot of the plot is lifted from my favorite now after having read the book, my favorite Bond book. A lot of it's lifted from the novel of You Only Live Twice. So it's got that on its side, but I do think he's a proper old school style Bond villain, and I rated it like you with Green. I rated him a lot higher than his final position was.
where did I what did I run it? Oh, I rated him 25.
Yeah, you
Alas.
rated him bottom, and I rated him. Gosh, I can't even remember where I am now.
Well, and James was
Blofeld.
24. Oh no, no, James was 25 as well, based on, wasn't it? Yeah.
I
Yeah, and
know.
mine was 10, so I rated him a lot higher than you guys.
Well, it's again, it's all about the potential. His entrance into the film was magnificent, but then he's just there. Um, and again, it's the same thing with Dominic Green. The nonchalant way he's killed at the end, with Bond basically facing the other way, like you're just an insignificance. It's interesting, but doesn't really work. So, as with I think everybody who's been placed low, as I say again, it's not a criticism of them as actors, but it is a result of a, the series being occasionally guilty of criminally underusing quality performers, not giving them enough to do, or giving them inconsistent stories, or at times poor writing. And I just think from his entrance, and oh my god, this could be something wonderful. It's just meh at the end.
It is. I mean, yeah, don't worry about criticizing James. I mean, I'm sure they're not listening. But even if they were, it's not really a criticism. We've got to rank it. So, someone's got to come. I mean, the difference is between some of these where we're really splitting hairs, aren't we? It's just a personal preference. And actually, if you take Whitaker, whilst we're thinking or Green or something, yeah, it's like if you compare him to a villain in another film, they're still heads and shoulders above him. It's just in the Bond universe, that's where we rank them. So, number 21, Christatos. I'm not going to say much about this one because, to be honest, I don't. It's one of the Bond films that I've probably watched the least. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't. Just doesn't do anything for me. So I'm going to hand over to you, gents, actually, to critique that really, because it wouldn't be fair for me to do it.
Go on, Ed.
So,
Okay.
You hate this movie.
I dislike the movie. However, I've got a real fondness for Julian Glover. I think Julian Glover's a fantastic actor, one of the best of his generation, and really the Bond films were lucky to have an actor of his stature, one deigning to take part in the film. He's of the big actor school of acting, if that makes sense. But I think he was badly underserved and underused and underwritten, unfortunately, by the script. It could have been a lot better. I don't know if it's editing. I don't know if it's directing. I don't know if what was originally intended for him. I know it's he appears in one of the short stories, doesn't he, James? Is it For Your Eyes Only, the short story?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Or is it the other one? No, it's not the Hill.
No,
No, it's not the Hill.
well, one of them. I can't
It's
remember.
one. It's in the
God,
For Your Eyes Only.
we
It's in the For
call
Your Eyes
ourselves
Only.
fans.
It's in the For Your Eyes Only short story collection, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called. But he appears
Mm.
in that, and it's literally the middle section of the film, and it's he sort of you sort of know from the beginning he's dodgy when he's introduced to Bond as a contact, and he's dodgy, and he's dodgy. Great. I think that maybe this it's not Julian Glover's fault. It's as you said with Safin, it's the script. So I'll put over to you, James.
Well, I know you and I had that debate some time back about For Your Eyes Only, but I will agree. Um, it poorly served its villain actor and its villain part, because the surprise isn't really a surprise. As you say, we expect it to happen as soon as Topol shows up. He's not going to be a baddie, so of course it's going to be the other fella. Similar to yourself, I love Julian Glover in everything. He was much better served in Indiana Jones a couple of years later, where he turned in a tremendous performance. I think he does a very good performance here now. I think there are touches of it I really enjoy, like when him and Bond are at dinner, and Bond's kind of one-upping him with knowledge of local wines and all the rest of it. It's a little conceit, and it's nice. And he plays what he is given perfectly. Um, so he does his job. It's possibly a hangover of the coming back to Earth so ferociously after Moonraker and scaling everything back, which personally I think was the right approach, but they scaled back too far in the Baddie.
right, gents, I think we're going to have to go a bit faster than this, Otherwise, it's going to turn into like a 3 hour special. So number 20, Largo. Yeah, I think that's fairly well placed. What did I say on it with this one?
Oh, I have to go back again.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. I've
No,
got it. I've got my own list here. So Largo.
oh, you got your own thing.
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
That's. I've changed my mind since the other day. Yeah, I think I think that's probably about right, really. It's difficult. I'm not even like like you talk, Ed, quite often about how you're not a fan of the film and what have you. I'm not really a fan of the film, so that's why sometimes I don't get excited about him. But he is still quite a good villain there. Ed, critique on this one, because I'm interested. Well, where did Edward put it?
Yeah, I put it around about the same. I can't remember where, but around about the same. It's again, I can't separate the actor in the film because Thunderball is Thunderball for me. It's just it goes on and on and on and on. Nice, interesting bit of factoid. I'm sure people know about this already, but he was the villain in the Operation Kid Brother, the Sean
Okay,
Connery's
Connery, is it?
brother. Okay, Connery,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
there's a lot of the old James Bond cast over the years in that film, isn't there? Really, to be fair. I've only watched a little bit of it. I'm not sure I will put myself through it again. Okay, Connery. What's it's in there, isn't she? Lois Maxwell's in there.
yeah.
Ursula Andress is in there. He's in there. Yeah, lots of people. Not Sean though. Don't know why. Someone who looks quite like him though. So I reckon we're going to go on to number 19, and James is going to give us a little bit of a critique of 19. 19, Stromberg.
Stromberg. Yeah. Now, Spy Who Loved Me is a movie we haven't reviewed yet, and we really should, because we'd have a lot of fun with that, I'm sure. Exactly what I said before. The criminal underuse of a good actor. I think Kurt Jurgens is great. You watch him in literally anything else, he's fine. He's not bad here. He's not. It's just the character is Blofeld's substitute and not in any way a subtle one. It's oh God, we can't use Blofeld. Not worry, we'll just call him something else, which is exactly what they've done. He's not given. He has flamboyance, yeah. He has his opulent lifestyle, his sea fetish, and all the rest of it. But there's just nothing to get excited about, and he's eclipsed by his henchmen in a way that, and this isn't to compare the actors at all, but in a way that Drax in the subsequent film with essentially the same kind of Blofeld substitute character wasn't. You enjoy both of them, whereas here you're not asked what Stromberg's up to, you just want to see Jaws. So
Yeah, very true.
yeah, should have been written better, but we can talk about that film another day.
I'm going to give you 18 as well, James, because I know this is one of your favorite films. The baddie in this one, Casino Royale, Le Chiffre.
Oh God, how the hell have you guys rated him so low? It's
Because
a
we're
travesty.
sensible.
It's a travesty. Regardless of what you think of the film, I think Casino Royale. It's rare. I forget who said it. I heard it on someone else's show once. That it's comparatively rare where you have the triple whammy. You have the Bond actor on top form, magnificent leading lady, and a magnificent baddie all in the one film together. And I think for me, appreciate you gentlemen disagree. I think Casino Royale is one of those, and maybe you're the finest example of those, because I think it is Craig's best performance of the character in his tenure. Vesper was brilliant, and Le Chiffre, my God. Mads Mikkelsen's another actor who I could watch him painting a fence and think it was fantastic. He's magnetic. Even though he's slimy and cowardly and manipulative, deceitful, all the rest of it, you're kind of rooting for him in the way that you did with the old mustache twirling bad guys of old, because he has a certain charm that you feel a bit dirty for giving into, but you do because he's just so so magnetic. I'm not using that word again tonight, I promise. But yeah, I think he's written exceptionally. Ed, you'll know from having read the books, Le Chiffre is the cipher. He's literally a money man for other people. It isn't his scheme per se. All he really cares about is getting the money back that he's lost. There's not an awful lot of meat to hang on something like that on a basic character outline. I think Mads Mikkelsen takes that and just rams it up to a whole other level. His character's written perfectly. I think as well, we've talked about it in other shows. It's a common theme in Bond villains that they will start off very suave and very in control, and then towards the end they will start to fall apart, become desperate and hysterical almost. I think he does that better than any of them. By the end he's an absolute mess. He's viciously inflicting pain on Bond, who, face it, he's not going to escape from that. It's only because Le Chiffre's bosses come in and kill him with just a bullet to the head. Simple. You've let us down. You're dead. That Bond was still alive. So I think that whole character journey is expertly written and expertly played. And yeah, I like him almost as much as I like Bond in that pick.
To be fair, I do like Mads Mikkelsen. There's a film called, I'm not sure if you say it, I'd probably say Polar, or would you say Polar? Not to be confused with another film called Arctic, but the Polar one, Polar, is on it's on Netflix. He's basically an assassin who's due for retirement, and his employers decide it might be easier to kill him than pay out on his pension. So very good. It's very good. So I'll give him that. Right, number 17. Do we even critique this one? How the hell does that one end up at 17? Okay. Sorry, I gave my cards. Think holding my not holding my cards close to my chest there, was I? Gustav Graves. Oh. Well, he's suave, I suppose. Swore. I feel sound a bit like what's it? Rebel Hallwood. He swore, darling. He swore. But do you know this might be where I look like a right idiot. Probably will not. I can't have given him a high rating. Could I?
Well, I gave him eight.
Graves. Oh, I
I
gave him
give Graves
20, 24.
eight.
All right. Well, okay. Anyway, I've obviously said what I
Yeah.
think, and he's 24. So let's see why Edward thinks he's in the top 10. Go on, Ed.
Okay, well, I like Toby Stephens as an actor. He just
Okay.
chews the scenery brilliantly. Look, this guy has got an ice palace base and an electric suit, and he has a brilliant fencing match with Bond. They don't need any
Until
more than that.
Madonna comes along. Unreal.
Yeah, he's got an ice base,
All right. All right.
and he's got like an exoskeleton superhero bad guy suit.
Jesus Christ, don't get me started on that bleeding suit. Like,
I don't get the hate Die Another Day gets. I genuinely don't get. I came out of the cinema with a silly grin on my face and watching that. That's brilliant. That's amazing. That's fantastic. He was surfing against CG backgrounds. It was brilliant. His car went. Oh, I absolutely loved it. I love Die Another Day, and I genuinely can't. Well, I can see why people don't. I can see why people don't like it, and I see in the case of like with Moonraker why they did dial it back because as to use one of your best quotes I've ever had from you, James, we were one step away from Bond meets King Kong, and we were nearly there again. We were nearly there
yeah,
again, but I think he's just a fun villain, and he would have fitted in with the Sir Rogers classic era.
I'll certainly concede that point. I mean, to be honest, I don't. Dying of the Day is always going to be low down on my list of all-time faves, but there's still parts of it I enjoy, and Toby Stevens is a massive part of that. He's basically playing Alan Bastard in that. He's an evil Tory MP, and it's Colonel Moon, obviously, which I think is I suppose you'd say there's problems with I suppose you call it white facing, I suppose these days, but I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept. We've already had Blofeld change his appearance in every film, he was in at that point. So, through plastic surgery, why not? Somebody changed their whole genetic structure. I think that was a really interesting idea. Toby's in anything you ever see him in, he's just amazing fun. Like you say, you choose the scenery, and not in an intrusive way. You're enjoying it with him. He has a great time. So, although, yeah, there are many things I can, and I'm sure one day we will criticize Die Another Day for. Toby isn't one of them. I think he's great.
And to be fair, he's gone on to play James Bond in the radio dramas, so I'll give him that. Okay. All right, Ed. We'll give you that. Number 15, Electric King.
16.
16?
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Rewind. Guess what, guys? You probably know what 15 is going to be now. Number 16, Elliot Carver. Well, what can I say about Elliot Carver? He's the fastest typer I've ever seen. I would love to spell check his stuff, though. It's just like I've never seen anyone type like that. Well, we've spoken about this film, yeah. I suppose he's a bit sinister in one sense, writing literally the next day's tomorrow's papers. I would have rated him. I probably would have been low down that. James, thoughts?
Well, like you say, we talked a lot about it in the review we did recently, but Jonathan Pryce, again, he's clearly just having so much fun with it, but not in a way that detracts from the performance at all, because the guy's genuinely scary. He's a nutter. He is dangerous. The throwaway, casual manner in which he orders his own wife's death is very sinister. So he gets both aspects. He gets the camp, and he plays up to the camp when he has to. But he's also damn scary at certain points in terms of what he has the power to do and the willingness with which he will do it. So I think, yeah, he gets the balance of what you need in a Bond villain just right. So I'm very happy with Elliot Carver.
Very good. Now, 15, this might come as a surprise to some of our listeners. 15 is Electric King. Electric King. But actually, yeah, she was quite a good baddie, really, because she was, she wasn't always a baddie to start with, or at least not obviously. So the way that she played that in terms of, double crossing and so on. I'd like that. I do. A lot of people say in terms of Pierce Brosnan as well. It was kind of a defining moment for him. When he sort of kills at the end with just a shot without really much thought. And of course, um, M sees that as well, which I think brings home the fact, he is actually at the end of the day a hired killer, isn't he? He's got a job to do, and that's his job. But she plays it well. She is very convincing, especially say the first half as well, before that she's the baddie. Yeah, I'll go with it. Yeah, I what does it 6-15? Yeah,
15.
yeah. I'm probably possibly even higher for me just because she's a bit villain, bit villainous. Uh, Edward,
the only female, one of only two female lead villains in the whole series, which is by the 90s, okay, but I thought they would have had some more female lead villains by now. But yeah, I mean, I remember at the time thinking there's something not quite right here, and also thinking, is M playing along or not when she went, "Oh, could you come with me, Em?" I thought there's something not quite right here. But the way the not quite right was teased out all the way through it. If you rewatch it, you notice these things that you didn't notice the first time. It's a very, 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 very good performance by Sophie Marceau. Yeah, it's almost like it's bristling under the surface, this need to be vicious, and she's sort of holding it in check. You can see it in her acting. I think she's fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, I agree.
So,
She's phenomenal. I I don't think I remember actually being surprised that she turned out to be the baddie. Um, just in in the same way you talked about Christastos before, you kind of expected it in a way. Maybe that was just a media hype around it. Maybe it's not because I'm very insightful and a very discerning viewer, and I probably read some newspapers. But yeah, it wasn't an enormous shock. But I think what what a performance! I think she was fantastic. As Roger would say, what a performance!
now 14 in at 14. This is a shocker in a bad way. I would have loved this one to be higher. Blofeld, played by Donald Pleasance. I thought he was a great one. I thought he was a great Blofeld. But then again, my maybe I'm slightly what's the word? Biased because I love him from the Halloween and stuff like that. So other things. And Columbo. What's he in Columbo? Any Port in a Storm, one of the best Columbo episodes ever. So I do. He has quite a fond, there's a place in my heart for Donald Pleasant. So maybe that's why. Um, Ed, how did you rank this one? Do you remember?
I'll go back and check. Let me have a look. I I think the problem is the similar way we said to Halloween, not Halloween, when we did The Exorcist, is that he's been parodied too many times, he loses his sting. And I think that's the problem. Yeah, I raised him 16th.
Okay.
I think he's lost his sting because of he has become the parody Bond villain, unfortunately, and it's not his fault. It's just the way things have gone. So I think he's lost his effect over the years. That's all.
Okay.
10 years ago, I probably rated him a lot higher.
Number 13, gentlemen. Doctor No. Well, what have we got to say about this one, James? Doctor No, who has got hands like the penguin from Batman Returns.
Oh my word! I think it's proof of the old saying, "Less is more," isn't it? We don't see him till right at the end. His presence is implied throughout, and the reveals awesome. Joseph Wiseman. Um, well, he sets the template, doesn't he? I mean, it all becomes a little bit bigger and grander each time for a while after him, but the bones of the bare bones are all there and all traced back to him. The Nehru collar, the let me wine you and dine you whilst telling you my easily foilable nefarious plan. Um, I like the little touches of what actually he was thinking about trying to recruit Bond. Um, he has um, a special talent that's ultimately used against him. So it's gorgeous. The stories about it. Christopher Lee had or Ian Fleming wanted Christopher Lee, but by the time he mentioned it to Harry and Cubby, Joseph had already been cast. That would have been interesting to see what Christopher Lee would have done with it. But that not to take anything away from Joseph, because yes, you wouldn't cast such an actor in that role these days. But judging it from from the time whence it's from, I think it's a fantastic performance and just expertly lays the bedrock of what the Bond villain will become.
Well,
And having read the book recently as well, Joseph Wiseman is Dr. No from the page, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll take your words for that, gents, because I've never read the books and probably never will. And well, I will read some. Depends. Let's just see if they hold my interest. Mainly because Ed's given me some, to be honest. Right. Yeah. Now, in at 12, Alec Trevelyan, 006. Well, to be fair, come on, what's not to love? This was like Silver, but before their time. Ed.and James, possibly the only thing that I've ever seen Sean Bean do without actually talking in his normal voice, because he always talks in that voice, and he managed to get through a whole film without saying bloody bastards. So I don't know, he managed that really. Everything he does, I love that. I watched Time recently. That's quite a hard watch, but he's great in that. What was the other thing I was watching the other day? Oh, Game of Thrones. I started Game of Thrones, but I've only one series in, and I'm a bit bored already. So plus he's gone. Oh, sorry, spoilers. But
okay.
Alec Trevelyan. I mean, come on, from the beginning, 006 at the beginning. Bit of a surprise there, to be fair, because I'm gullible. I'm not like James. I don't have this writer's mind where you think, oh my God, he's got shot. He's definitely going to come back as the baddie. No. So so that was kind of a bit of a surprise. But I do like the fact that it was two 800 agents against each other. For the first time, I felt as if James Bond could have his work cut out. And then I realized, no, it's Pierce Brosnan. It's GoldenEye, and James Bond never loses. But you felt like there was times where it's like, oh, how is he going to get out of this? What's he going to do? But also some classic scenes, like with the train. Only Bond and things like that. Oh no, he didn't say only, but he doesn't say like that, does he? Only Bond, only Bond. From England, classic, absolutely classic. When did you ever play it back, James, just so you can hear him say it? Oh, for England, James.
oh God, yeah. There's all manner of Sean Bean videos I play back just
for that.
Yes, once a year you have the annual Sean Bean saying "bastard" there. You just have the YouTube loop of all the times he's uttered it. No, he nailed this role. I mean, the only criticism you can point at it is the guy's way too young to be the son of a Lienz Cossack. But I think that was when they were writing it with the intention of the character being Bond's mentor. But yeah, I think they could have tidied that up, but it's unimportant really. But no, I think it's fantastic because it probably is for the first time Bond really is evenly matched by a guy who is as good and has been as good as he is at everything. And through the circumstances of the scrap, Bond manages to get the upper hand. But he's for the first time, maybe the first time. I'm sure people will tell me if I'm wrong, but Bond's not smarter / stronger / sexy or whatever than the guy he's up against.
Okay, well, he probably is sexier, to be fair. But yeah, with that hair in GoldenEye, yeah, come on, Pierce Brosnan. But yeah, carry on. Sorry, I interject.
Oh no, I don't think I can top that. But no, it's great. It's a fun. It's I hate the I've said it before on another show that expression. You're my shadow reflection, or we're not so different, you and I, and all that kind of thing. I loathe it, and every time I hear it, or every time I read it, I want to scream. And again, someone please tell me I'm not wrong. This conveys that message without being so damn obvious about it. It just is. They just are. There, but for the quirk of fate, Bond could be alongside him on this mission. So it's the best example of that kind of brother image. I think it even pushes out, the Scaramanga Bond as mirror images, etc. Sean's amazing in it. I mean, I know he auditioned for Bond, didn't get it, and they were so impressed he gave him this, and he grabs it with both hands. Love this performance, love this character.
Now, I'm going to ask you to speak in a moment. Don't worry, I'm not going to shoot over
That's
it. But
okay.
on the back of this, though, number 11, really straight off the back of it, very much a similar character, Silver from Skyfall. I mean, fantastic. What I love about this one, again, evenly matched. There's almost times where you think he could be even possibly outmatched because Silver comes up with some of these things like how he escapes and so on. And all right, James, there was no need for that. But no, again, you think, well, okay. And of course, it what Emma alludes to the fact that he was one of her best agents. Um, did get a bit romantic between them towards the end. I felt a little bit, maybe. um, but again, for the same reason that we've just critiqued Alec on, I think a fantastic villain. Ed, your thoughts? I'm not going to go to James.
Not just a previous agent, he was a previous James Bond. He's
Mhm.
definitely his relationship with them. I think Silver is one of the codename James Bonds. Seriously, I'm being utterly serious. I'm not just doing it for laughs. He was a Bond that we haven't seen. He was a 007 at some point. He's got that strong a relationship with them. He calls her mother.
Well, that is true because even Bond doesn't have that level
No.
of attachment to him, really.
So I think there's a whole series of unseen stories where, and I've forgotten the actor's name. How awful of me. What's his name?
Uh, um, Bardem, isn't it? Yeah.
Javier Bardem is
That's
Bond.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, I think there's a whole series of unseen stories where Javier Bardem is Bond. Actually,
So,
I'm about to start the Raymond Benson novels. I'll imagine Javier Bardem as Bond in them just to get continuity right.
uh, so what
Listen,
you're really saying is that Javier Bardem is kind of a pre-Hartnell Doctor.
Absolutely, yes.
Ah, okay, interesting.
But that seems to be the relationship they have. You see the relationship Bond has with M, almost that, especially with the the prior M. It's sort of fatherly. This one's got a motherly relationship. Javier Bardem's character has got a mother-son, but like a prodigal son relationship with M. And she's almost like she'll forgive him anything because he's her son. He's her creation.
there is this film does have one of the well, it has two of my favorite scenes because it's probably oh my god, am I about to say this? It's probably is one of my favorite Bond films, and it's Daniel Craig as well. Um, I don't know what's come over me, but it's got two great scenes. One in the courthouse. Is it the courthouse? What should we call it? A courthouse? I don't know. When she's in a briefing and he comes along to save the day. She's just about to get shot, isn't she, by Silver, and he comes along and saves everything. That's one of my favorite scenes. But I also feel this has got one of the most sinister scenes as well. I find it really sinister towards the end when Silver turns up at Skyfall and they've got the place surrounded. Then they land on the helicopter and it's playing the music, and Bond's in there, literally thinking, well, he's got about 10 people outside, all with machine guns. How the hell is he getting to get out of this? It's the first time I've actually felt a bit like a bit of, oh, Ed, help me. Somebody help me. What's the word? I don't want to say sorry for him. That's like, I actually felt he's in danger. I just find it a very
Yeah.
sinister film. I feel like he's in danger because he's well outnumbered. There isn't anything obvious. And I think if I was in myself in that shoes, it's so weird. I don't know why, but you could just, if you're in your own house and then like you were surrounded by people, you'd be thinking, "Shit, how am I going out on this one?" Of course he does, but that's because he's James Bond. But yeah, I felt there's been a few scenes where I really do feel, and that's because it's a great film, and I'm never going to say that again. Right, so number 10,
We're in the
Blofeld.
top 10. Top 10.
We're on the top 10 now, yeah. In at 10, Blofeld with Mr. Telly Savalas. Edward, you're on I feel like you want to say something there. You're looking
No,
happy.
a very, very different take on Blofeld. Only one film further down the line. This Blofeld's much more like a gangster rather than a supervillain. He's much more down to earth, much more believable, and in that way, much more dangerous. I mean, in You Only Live Twice, Blofeld has Bond, and he could shoot him in the face, but he shoots the other fella instead, and then goes off in his little cart. I think this Blofeld, if he had the chance, would shoot Bond in the face.
Mm.
He's a lot more He's a lot more dangerous, a lot less of a caricature and more real. So, and his plan is it's quite an interesting plan to destroy the ecology of different countries to bring. This is quite an interesting plan because it sort of rings true with the way the world is these days, with with climate and crop blight and that sort of thing. So yeah, and a great performance, a really excellent performance by Telly Savalas.
Um, James, we're going down to 9 now. We're rattling down these now. Number
Nice
9,
one.
Goldfinger.
Ah, Goldfinger. Do you know what? I hard to know what to say about Goldfinger because he is the archetypal Bond villain. He's got the probably the best line in the whole series. You know, that no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Um, his his scheme is as bullshit in the film as it is in the book. It's absolute nonsense. But again, in the true history and soul of Bond, you don't care because you're having a good time with the film. Um, I mean, Goldfinger is maybe one we can do. We can review for another time, but there's so much of that that doesn't make sense apart from the actual plot itself. The aspect, the parts where he gets all the gangsters into his house, tells them his plan, and then kills them all. What? Why? Why? And he just as soon as they enter your door, machine gun them. What's all this arsing around for? It's just pure exposition that doesn't need to be done in this way. So there's a lot of nonsense about it. But considering, but he carries that film. Connery's at his finest. And, he's before he's got bored of the part. He's still enjoying it. He's perfected the swagger, so you have the perfect Bond. Pussy Galore, one of the greatest Bond girls. Although I wouldn't rate her as highly as others myself, but she is. She's again, he's archetypal. And Auric Goldfinger, you can't really get better than that. Considering Gertfro couldn't speak English, you okay, they dubbed his voice, but you wouldn't tell that from the inflections in his face, from the way he portrays that character. You wouldn't think this guy doesn't know what he's saying. He does it expertly. The character's fun in a weird way. You kind of like him, and again, with the best villains, you kind of root for them a little bit, and you feel a bit bad for doing it, but you do because you just like them. And as a kid, when I first saw it, his death scene when his eyes go back in his head, and he's been sucked out of the plane. That was really effective. It looks ludicrous now with the CSI or whatever it was and floating around the fuselage, but I thought that was really, really strong. So yeah, 3 films into the series gave us one hell of a villain to beat.
Number 8. Number 8, gents. I'm not going to. I might just talk about this with you, James, because I don't think Ed's going to say much about this. Sanchez.
No. I have something to add to this one. And
Oh,
it's nice. It's nice.
oh, go on then.
Go on, give us first.
Okay, so you gentlemen know I'm not a fan of the film License to Kill. However, I am a huge fan of the book, and Sanchez is a much better written character than he seems a filmic character to me. I think because you get inside his head and you see what makes him tick. So, whereas I found him a pretty standard sort of I've got Miami Vice style villain in this film, oh gosh, does he work as a literary character. John Gardner's novelization of License to Kill is everything a novelization of a film should be. It's fantastic. So that is, as a book, as a film, I still don't rate it. As a book, I really, really rate it.
Well, Ed, do you know what? I might even just leave it there because I don't want to spoil it. That's pretty good, especially coming from your good self. So I'm going to go over to James now for the next one. So number 7. Oh, do you know what? No, I might even take this one myself. Kamal Khan. My favorite Bond film ever, isn't it? Octopussy. I must have put that higher than 7, I would imagine. But the guy's a total psycho, really, isn't he? In some respects, he's calm, collected, suave. You know, Octopussy. I'm meant to like her. I don't know. He'll detonate a bomb over under his loved ones in the blink of an eye. Um, he does rely quite a bit on the henchmen, though. Really, to be fair, he sends them out on top of planes and stuff like that. Yeah, to go and fight Bond. But he doesn't care. You see, he has no value in their life. That's because he's a complete psycho. He even eats sheep's eyes. What can I say? Um, That's probably the reason I'm higher is just because I love Octopussy. But maybe I'll go for a better critique from someone who knows what they're talking about. James.
Oh, I don't think I've got a better critique. I think the guy's excellent. He gets a lot of stick when you see online ratings, whatever. That's why you should never pay attention to the internet, kids. Um, he's saying he's weak and effectual or whatever. I think he's tremendous. Louis Jourdan has so much charisma about him. Him and Roger play off each other magnificently. Um, the, the gambling scene is it's taken more or less from excuse me from Moonraker, the novelization of Moonraker. Sorry, the book of Moonraker, and it's beautifully done. The measured, calm threat in his voice, and some of his one-liners are great. The nasty habit of surviving and all of that stuff. It's amazing. He's loyal to nobody but himself, yet has these people around him, particularly Gobinda, who will literally die for him, and he just doesn't care. Well, yeah, you would. I'm your boss, so you should. Um, I think it's a fantastic character. I love Octopussy. It's my secret guilty pleasure of the film. I like to tell everyone that I am tough and mean and like the harder, gritty Bonds, but Octopussy's got it every time for me. I think it's a great film, and I think he's a great bad guy.
Didn't we score this almost like a perfect 10 with all of us? I think
Yeah,
Octopussy, didn't we?
we
Yeah.
did.
So I don't know why that's number one. Oh, I do know why it's not number one because I know what number one is. But I'm not surprised it's not in between. But anyway, now in at six is actually this is confusing. In at six is number three, Pleb or Spectre's number three. Do you like to see what I did there? Hey, it's good.
Very good.
Um, I mean, she's got a knife in her shoe. I mean, what more do you want, honestly? Um, first time, and she'll just kill anyone. She's like mad. She's there. She's got little knuckle dusters in her handbag. You know how many people carry those? Well, or potentially quite a few if you're in that line of work, I suppose. But yeah, she's quite ruthless in that role, isn't she? She wants to hire a love interest. Just get what you need. Um, Red Grant, real training, but she's all about just yeah, I'll kill anyone via maybe not myself, but via other means to get the job done. End of, you know. And I do like those scenes towards the end, actually, with the knife, little knife in the shoe. Classic, an absolute classic. Edward, your thoughts on Kleb?
Yeah, I mean, she's gone up for me after reading the novel of From Russia with Love. I always thought she was a great villain anyway, but yeah, it's the absolute dedication to duty from her, the fanatical dedication to duty of doing the right thing for the Soviet Union to bring down the West by showing them how corrupt they are by getting compromising pictures of one of their top agents and sort of dangling this Lecter device in front of him to get him involved. It's she's a schemer, she's a planner. She's got like I said, the henchman in Red Grant. She's got Titania as the bait for Bond. Just a consummate planner. And in the end, with a knife out of the shoe, in the film, Bond wins. In the book, you think Bond's dead. She gets him with the shoe with poison, and that's how the book finishes. So she is dangerous. She nearly killed Bond.
No, and she's about the size of Jimmy Cranky. So, and yeah, what can you say? Now, in at five, Ed, in at five, I'm going to give this one to you because this is a classic. The only baddie, is it the only baddie that's been in drag? Most possibly. That's why it says number five. Blofeld with Charles Gray.
My favorite Blofeld. Plays it like a Batman villain from Batman from the Adam West era or something out of the Avengers. Complete flip over from the serious hard criminal of Telly Savalas. This is a classic Bond villain. If you say Bond villain, you think someone with a base with a preposterous plan of he's going to steal diamonds to make a satellite to fire lasers at the Earth. Yeah, fantastic. And Charles Gray, I mean, Charles Gray is amazing. They've been re-showing what's my line? Call My Bluff on BBC Four over the last few months, and Charles Gray was one of the contestants on it, and he made an old 70s boring quiz show interesting to watch because he's that sort of actor. James said he could watch Mads Mikkelsen paint the fence. Yeah, I could watch Mads Mikkelsen, Charles Gray do the washing up and be entertained because he's just absolutely brilliant. A brilliant foil for the sort of more, should we say, camp, silly way the series went down in the 70s. He probably wouldn't have worked two films before. He works very, very well as a gateway into the 70s.
Very good, Ed. Very good. Couldn't say it better. Now, in at four, we've got Elon Musk. I mean, sorry, we've got Hugo Drax. Sorry, I just got a bit confused there about someone trying to take over the world and send us up on a space station. Yeah. So, Drax, your thoughts, Mr. Sylvester, about this madcap film that
Oh,
is Moonraker?
my word. Well, and we recorded our Moonraker special a few weeks back, didn't we? And we were gushing in our praise of Drax and Michael Lonsdale. Hell, it's a character that shouldn't work on paper because it's it's dull. It's a Blofeld standby. It's just another, carbon copy guy in a Nehru collar with a crazy plan, um, a more batshit plan than ever in Bond's universe. But good God, Michael Lonsdale plays that so well. Um, the No one's ever done dry and sardonic as well as Michael Lonsdale does here. His one-liners are brilliant, um, and just delivered with such utter disdain. Like, he doesn't even care that he's being funny. He's just really, quite sick of this tiresome man. Um, he he's a large part of why I'm on the side, because you're only on one side or the other with Moonraker. You love it or hate it, and he's a large part of why I'm on the love it side. I think he carries every scene that he's in. He's magnificent. He does, just like I was talking about Taylor Sheaf before. He does the gradual unraveling extremely well. He raises his voice right at the end when Jaws is switching sides, and when just before he's kicked out of the airlock, he's looking dishevelled, he's looking bothered, and upset for the first time in the whole picture. He's great, and he's a wonderfully poetic ending. So I love Drax. You don't have to love Moonraker if you don't want to, but I think you're silly if you don't. But you've got to love Michael Lonsdale in this film.
You do. You do. There's some classic one-liners in there. And yeah, pretty ruthless. Now, in at three, Dr. Kananga or Mr. Big. Well, okay, even I saw that one coming, James, I must admit. Okay, so Dr. Kananga, well, what can you say about Dr. Kananga? Again, well, I don't necessarily think sometimes he's not as ruthless as I sometimes think, because with Solitaire, I think there is a bit of there are feelings there. Not many though. He's prepared to let her go, but I don't think he wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. I think he's got his little henchmen again, like most villains. I mean, why does he entrust in see you take care of Bond? Well, we know that's going to go wrong, don't we? Can't do that, can he? He's got a fantastic layer though, isn't he? Underground layer with the swimming pool with sharks, because of course you're definitely going to need that. I think if I had lots of money and I was going to build something, and I think, oh yeah, we'll have a leather seat there, we'll have some, drinks and champagne. Yeah, we'll have a swimming pool. Probably put a 12-foot shark in that one, just in case. You never know who might pop in, and some exploding bullets. So, oh, and a knife, so I can go a bit psycho towards the end and laugh sinisterly, like as in I've just lost the plot. But up until then, love it. I know I even love that. I just love all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, when he is a bit of a psycho again, isn't he? Like he's cutting Bond towards the end with his little smile on his face. He's like really enjoying this. Yeah, I think definitely deserves number three there. Again, it's probably because it's one of our most highly rated films. Well, it is for me anyway. So no surprise really. Edward, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, Yaphet Kotto, I mean, what an actor. What an amazing actor. even, I know there wasn't much difference between Mr. Big and Dr. Kananga. I mean, as a child, I think I've said this on the actual show. I remember thinking he's pulled the mask off and his face looks the same. But really, really good. Again, villain of the time. It's like Bond sort of tapping into the zeitgeist of the time, and that was the sort of thing that was on everyone. That type of film was the sort of film that's been made at the time. So Bond obviously mined its heritage, went into the books, thought, yeah, we've got something to base that on. Let's make a sort of a vague interpretation of Live and Let Die and keep the villain. But yeah, really well played, quite underplayed in parts until he goes a bit tonto at the end. But he really, really underplays it, and he pitches it very well towards Roger's softer, more flippant Bond. I think if he'd been playing against Connery, I think it would have been he'd have come across as tougher because he'd have a tougher Bond to play against. But I think they don't descend into camp, but they have a very, very good sort of verbal fencing with each other, which is always good.
Well said, Ed. Well said. Now, number two, I'm going to go over to James with this one, actually. Do you know, James, I think we might actually have to take back some of the things we said about Silver. Well, I'm not sure you said them, actually. Me and Ned said about Silver and Alec Trevelyan, because we kind of said that was the first time that we felt that James was, yeah, James Bond, not James Sylvester, was matched. Was
I'm very
matched.
easily matched.
Yeah.
That's not a challenge
Um,
for supervillains.
but you know what? We might be wrong. It might have happened first of all in The Man with the Golden Gun with Scaramanga. Your thoughts?
I Oh God, I love Christopher Lee. He's just exceptional. Yes, we will have to revise those thoughts. Maybe contextualize them um, a little to an extent, because yeah, Scaramanga is the shadow reflection again, and that side of it, I think, yeah, nobody could beat Christopher Lee at performing that kind of mirror Bond image. Yes, he is genuinely dangerous. And yeah, he could be a match for Bond, but ultimately, I can't get over that Scaramanga is a bit of a cheat, really. He has his fun house that's where he's competing with people, but only on his terms. And he has all these little tricks to throw people off guard. So is he really beating them? I don't know. Maybe it's the
Yeah, it's a
sportsman
good
in me.
point. It's a good point. Yeah, it's not really they're not really playing off of level playing field, is he? Really, to be fair.
No.
So
But in terms of performance and character, Scaramanga's so charismatic. And again, because Christopher Lee is one of those people who will inhabit every role he plays, he'll just perform it excellently, whatever he's asked to do. Whether it's a good film or a terrible film, you're guaranteed a great Christopher Lee performance in it. And he nails this. He also clearly, with his Fleming family connections, he's clearly loving being part of it, and it's a role he continued to look back on with great fondness, even though the movie itself wasn't the best the series had to offer. He's absolutely one of the best villains.
Edward, we're down to the last two. So yeah, your thoughts as well, and then we'll have a little chat about number one. I think we've got it all. Have
I'm
a little chat about number one.
I'm going to echo what James said. Christopher Lee, he lifts anything he's in. I mean, he was even in The Howling too, and even though that's one of the worst films I've ever seen, Christopher Lee was still magnificent. I think he takes the roles seriously. He learns the roles, he inhabits the roles that he plays, and he was never going to give a bad performance in as Scaramanga. I mean, he's very, very, as James will agree, he's nothing like the Scaramanga in the book. The Scaramanga in the book is not suave, not charming. He's a nasty thug. Scaramanga, screen Scaramanga deserves his place in the top echelons of Bond villains, and a lot of that is down to Christopher Lee.
Well said. Well said. And that brings us to number one, the baddest of the baddest. Possibly because he's the biggest psycho going. I know I've used that word a few times this evening, but I mean, even when the man dies, he's laughing. So, Max Zorin, Christopher Walken, who I'm sure when I was looking into Batman Returns, I'd read somewhere, I don't know what cast member it was, or maybe several cast members, really didn't like talking to on the set of Batman Returns because they were actually genuinely scared of him because the man was so strange. I don't think he's strange. I just think he's got a certain demeanor. I love you, Christopher Walken, and we will have you on the show any time of the week. I'm only going talking, anecdotally. I don't know, but that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. But in this film, Ed, oh my God, what a baddie! This is your favorite Bond film ever, isn't it? To be fair,
It is.
and is that? I mean, I know in part that's going to be because of Roger, obviously, but I guess that has got also got to be because of Max Zorin.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this when we were ranking these, all three of us ranked him as the top villain. So that says a lot. I mean, otherwise there was disparity in quite a few of them, but this one we all ranked as as the best villain. So that says something for the performance.
Guys, I handed over to Ed, but Ed's done a really good critique there, and he finished it off really well. So actually, I'm going to now edit this a little bit, and we're going to go to James. James, what do you think of Max Zorin?
Oh God, I love Max Zorin. Um, one of the earliest contemporaneous um, Bond films I have memory of. I think when my brother rented the video for View to a Kill, I've been captivated by Max Zorin, and I think the concept of him's really clever. And it results of Nazi genetic experiments. The peroxide blonde is obviously a striking look, but it's entirely in the way Christopher Walken characterizes that, because it could be a generic character with an interesting backstory, but he just becomes, he becomes unreal in how well he's played, how well he's delivered. You'd think he was playing Hamlet, the work he puts into the guy's mannerisms. You never know when that slight little laugh's going to start. There's the famous one at the end, of course, but it's littered throughout where he has these little smiles as he does something absolutely horrible. But to him, it's just clever because he's so intelligent, and this is the way it should be now. And he shoots Howe in the office, and a realization on the guy's face because that means I'd have to be dead. it's it's amazing. I mean, you see psychopaths portrayed on screen a lot. And maybe this is a little more comic booky than others, but I think he really latched onto that aspect of the character. He's a psychopath. You don't know what he's going to do. He has no real emotional connection to you. So all these people who have been loyal to him and love him, he really doesn't give a damn about any of you, with the possible exception of Dr. Mortner, who he does seem to be quite affectionate to at the end. So interesting, all three of us, we have different tastes in Bond films, in what we'd call our favorites and our preferred style. But yeah, we all picked Max.
We absolutely did. We absolutely did. Now we're going to hand over to Ed in a pre-recorded fashion.
I mean, on paper, he's like any other sort of rich industrialist who wants to corner the market, and it's a very thinly written character. Christopher Walken doesn't only give it life, he gives it nine lives, like a cat would have. He brings it to he drags it kicking and screaming off the page, and he inhabits that character. I don't think he ever descends into camp. He does chew the scenery. I mean, he gives a big performance, but it's big on Christopher Walken's terms. It's not big on a more serious actor's terms. I mean, this is the man that did the video for Weapon of Choice for Fatboy Slim. He's that sort of. You don't know where he's going to go with anything, and that scene at the end where he just casually machine guns down all the people working for him, laughing as he's doing it, lets all his staff who've been with him, including Mayday, lets all his staff drown or get electrocuted, and like you said, he's still laughing as he's dying. Absolutely brilliant creation, and a lot of that is down to Christopher Walken's performance. And as a swan song villain for Rog, the most memorable villain, not only of the Roger Moore era, but the most memorable villain of the whole 60 plus years of Bond.
And on that bombshell, on Ed's critique of Max Zorin, we've been Bow Tie Sometimes Cool. I'm Ashley. Goodbye.
And I'm Ed. Goodbye.
And I'm James. Goodbye.